What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this edition of TSR Live presented by Happy Hippo Herbals. It is Wednesday, November 29, 2017, and today I have the first of four special guests I'm going to be having on this week. Give me 1 second here to make sure that wait a minute. Having a little bit of, there we go. Had to hit the mute button there, so just give me 1 second, guys. All right, perfect. Today's guest, gentlemen, runs a blog called Masculine Development, which covers all of the pillars of the red pill lifestyle, like girls, game, weightlifting, and money, just to name a few. They can all be found at masculinedevelopment.com. That's just like it's spelled. He's also written a couple of books. One is entitled 7 Strategies to Develop Your Masculinity, and the other is called Body of an Alpha, which is a book that literally guides you step by step through attaining an elite physique that will help you get more female attention than you'll know what to do with. And you can find those both on his website as well. He's a regular contributor at Return of Kings, and his articles focus mainly on combat sports, fitness, and politics. His name is Jon Anthony, and this guy really knows his shit, so I'm happy to have him on today. Jon, how are you doing, man?
Great, man. I'm glad to be here.
Good stuff. Now you've run masculinedevelopment.com. I'm on your website quite a bit. How long has your website been around?
Since October of 2015. So about 2 years, a little over 2 years maybe.
Okay, so you've been at this longer than I have.
Oh yeah, I've been writing for ROK since I think my first article was published in December of 2015.
Oh, good stuff. Wow. Well, then I've got you beat there. My first article on Return of Kings was published on March 14th of 2014. So I got you on that one. I'm glad to have a statistical advantage on that one. Well, this is the first time that you and I have ever spoken on air. And so the first question that I always ask a first-time guest is, how did you find the red pill? Was it heartbreak? Was it sexual frustration? Was it a crazy situation? Was it a bad situation? Take our audience into the situation or situations or conditions that brought Jon Anthony to the red pill, how you found Return of Kings, etc.
Definitely. So first thing I'd like to say is the red pill, right? So they're usually what people refer to when they talk about the red pill, which is the whole like hypergamy thing and the truth about dating, game, etc., etc. The political red pill, which is understanding globalism and leftism versus right-wing type stuff going on right now. And there's the sort of cultural and financial red pills as well. So there's multiple spheres of the red pill. Like most guys, I think it was kind of like a gradual sort of descent into the belly of the whale. So it started in high school when I had been taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a while. To take a hiatus because I hurt myself. And I wanted to stay in shape. So I just started kind of looking around online into fitness because my thinking was like, okay, I'm in high school. I have like no girls interested in me. I'm a virgin, like I just fuck this. Like I don't like this, I want to get some more girls. And so that kind of led me down the getting the health and fitness path. That kind of brought me to the whole alpha male, beta male, like evolutionary psychology type route. I think I discovered ROK pretty early on, like right when it was started in like 2012, 2013. But the conditions that brought it about, I'd say, were a number of things. But mainly it was not getting girls. That was my biggest thing. So I kind of had this like general vague feeling that there was something wrong with our culture. You just feel like there's something wrong about this weird, like super liberal, like everyone gets offended type bullshit going on. Like what? What's going on here? And then I kind of discovered ROK, went on a gigantic binge reading session and then couldn't sleep for fucking weeks. And then since then I've just been just going down it basically. I got into if anyone's heard of RSD, Real Social Dynamics. I got into RSD, Stefan Molyneux, InfoWars, all the conspiracy shit. Started with like ROK and just pirating a bunch of ebooks on game.
Yeah, that's funny. The one of the main and you recently wrote a post on your blog, and I forget what actually, you know what? I'll pull it up right now. But basically, the name of the article is basically how to get over the anger phase in terms of women, and we all know that one of the One of the most profound phases in a man's red pill development, and this is where a lot of guys drop off in terms of their red pill development, is the anger phase. But the other part of the phase is when you get past the anger phase, there's the gluttony phase, where you do nothing but read red pill related content all day, every day. Man, listen, man, I remember when I was reading Chateau Heartiste, I was reading Return of Kings, Rollo Tomasi, who I'm going to have on Friday afternoon, Illimitable Man, who I talk to a lot. The gluttony phase is it's one of the most important phases, because that's where we really build a foundation, not in terms of practical application, but in terms of knowledge. Okay, I don't know exactly what I'm doing, but at least I can see in black and white what's really going on here. And it sounds like you went through that same phase.
No, I did, yeah. I think the thing you're referring to is my video on the 5 stages of red pill, right? When you first swallow red pill. Yeah, it's on my YouTube channel. But yeah, I went through the gluttony phase, like a lot of guys, and I just watched like hours and hours and hours of video. And like most guys, I was too fucking chicken shit afraid to do anything with the game that I was learning, We watch these videos and read everything, and then we don't get around to applying it for a while. But I actually started applying it, I think, 2012, 2013. It's about 5-6 years ago, roughly. Definitely did go through the gluttony phase.
Good. So let's talk a little bit about the fitness angle. We're going to start there. You used to be 125 pounds soaking wet. All right.
Yeah.
And you've transformed your body. Obviously you don't weigh 125 pounds. What made you make that change? What was the aha moment that made Jon Anthony say to himself, I need to get bigger? Or was it a series of events? Did you get your ass kicked? What happened?
I was taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in high school a while back. Basically, I was really skinny because, with BJJ, it relies a whole bunch on technique and not so much on strength. Doing BJJ, something to do that was physical, because I felt really good when I was exercising all the time. And I kind of just like realized how all the girls in my school seemed to gravitate towards like the football players, the alpha male types, Well, what if I can do that, right? And I later found out that, it wasn't things. It was the confidence and their natural swagger, but it was also, the way that they looked too. But that's kind of what really got me into health and fitness at first. And I think that's the same with a lot of guys. I think that a lot of guys get into health and fitness at first just want to fuck bitches. Like, it's really that simple. And then, you kind of get an appreciation for it after a while. It makes you feel good. You can relieve stress, all that stuff. But for me, it was mainly sexual attractiveness. And that was why I really got in the gym and started just learning about everything.
Yeah, this is, the funny thing is a lot of men like to say, well, girls only go to the gym and stay in shape so that they can be sexually attractive. They only wear these things to make themselves sexually attractive. Well, guess what? As men, we're the same thing. Like, don't get me wrong. I want to feel good. I want to be strong. But dude, 99.9% of the reason that I stay in shape is so I can get laid. That's it. And any man who doesn't admit that is being a fucking woman. Listen, admit, hey, look, I want to get my dick wet. This is why I'm under the bar squatting 300 pounds. This is why I'm deadlifting 500 pounds. This is why I go in the gym and destroy my body so that I can be more sexually attractive. That's human nature. Now, how did you get from 120, without giving away too much of what's in your book that talks about this? Give my audience sort of an outline in terms of how you got to 125 to where you are now. How did you go from a skinny guy who only knew Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to a guy who looks like you do now?
Well, geez, it was a long journey, and I made a shit ton of mistakes.
Okay.
There was a few big revelations for me. The first was hypertrophy adaptive training. So I tried all types of different workout routines. Like most people, I started off with starting strength, right? And
okay,
right. And they're great programs, but when you have a really, really fast metabolism and you're a hard gainer like I am, they just don't work very well. The way that I got to my current weight, which is about it oscillates between if I'm like training for a photo shoot or not, but it's usually between like 170 and 185 at a low body fat, like 6 to 8%. I'd say the main components of what brought me there from being so skinny were first fat, power, hypertrophy, adaptive training, and counting your fucking calories. Okay, nobody counts their calories. Every guy that is skinny who thinks that they're eating enough, they are not eating enough, I promise you. 99% of the time, with guys who think that they're, they say, oh, John, I just can't put on weight, I can't build muscle. It's because they're not eating enough, So download a calorie counting app, put it on your phone, which I actually do with Rich Piana, which is great.
Oh, and, listen, speaking of Rich Piana, rest in peace, man. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
He kind of died suddenly,
yeah.
didn't
he? Yeah. He was very, very honest. I respect him because he's very he's straightforward. He's honest about steroids, honest about eating big to get big. He's a cool dude.
Good.
Supplements too. I highly recommend that to anyone that's trying to get big. His meal plan is great.
All right, good stuff, man. All right, so let me move to the next question. And now you mentioned early about some of the mistakes that you were talking about. What are some of the biggest mistakes that, because I'm not a hard gainer at all. It is very easy for me to gain weight. I have a very large frame. As I sit here right now, I'm 227 pounds. I could gain, dude, I went on vacation to Hawaii with my girlfriend last October. And before I left on that trip, I was 222. By the time I got back from that trip, a lot of alcohol, a lot of carbs, a lot of sugar, a lot of calories. I had gained 13 pounds, man. I was up to 235. Now, I hit the gym and I lost 8 pounds in that first week, but I am not what you call a hard gainer, all right? When I'm looking my absolute best, I'm anywhere between, I would say, 210 and maybe 215, give or take. So keeping on weight is that's not a problem for me. But what are some of the biggest mistakes that men with a small build when trying to add weight? What are some of the biggest mistakes that they make?
Combining strength training with mass training.
Okay.
The fat routine so much, power, hypertrophy, adaptive training, because it combines training. And I found that as a hard gainer, it's really hard to bulk up and gain strength if you're doing one or the other, because you really need to shock your muscles in a lot of different ways and just train strength, hypertrophy, and have this kind of dynamic routine that kind of keeps your muscles growing. The second biggest mistake, not eating enough, not counting your calories. Bulking up for my photo shoot for Body and Alpha, point to get skinny and try to bulk up again. I think I was like 150 or something, and in 3 months I got up to 185 at like 6% body fat. And
wow.
And it's eating. Every day I was eating, and I can do that, right? I can do a dirty bulk because I'm a hard gainer. But I was also hitting all my macros, getting protein. Every morning I would have 1,200 calorie bulking shake with bananas and almond butter and whey protein and then milk and all that stuff. Just eat, man. Eat a shit ton. That's the biggest mistake that everyone makes. It's a hard gainer.
Okay, yeah. Listen, you know what? I wish I were a hard gainer because I don't think I would have a problem. I don't think I would have a problem becoming an easy gainer, as it were. So let's go to the other side of the coin. What are some of the biggest mistakes that men make when they're trying to cut or shred out? Like, listen, I was 312 pounds, and obviously I don't weigh that much now. And luckily for me, and just for all of you guys listening out there, like I was blessed by the genetic gods. I was 312 pounds. No, I do not have the extra skin that hangs off me as a weight of being, well, not morbidly obese, but 312 with my frame. Yeah, you would think that I have a lot of extra frame. Everything, grew back tight. I'm good to go. But where are the areas that men trip up when trying to cut out or shred out?
I'd say, first of all, not getting on keto. If you're serious about trying to lose weight, the first thing that you really need to try to understand is carb cycling and ketosis.
Okay.
Depending on how much you're trying to lose and what time frame you're trying to do it in, that will change whether you're going to want to do just basic carb cycling or ketosis, right? So ketosis is when your body basically gets into pure fat burning mode, right? So it's when you have very minimal carbs for a long period of time. Well, if you are an easy gainer like you, but if you're a hard gainer, I don't recommend that because you'll just drop so much weight way too quickly and it'll be muscle too.
Okay.
So if you're a hard gainer, I recommend carb cycling, which is where you have on your on days, right? So for example, right now with me, I even have probably like 300 to 400 carbohydrates, grams of carbs on my workout days. And then on my off days, where I do cardio and abs and everything else, I have like under 50.
Wow.
It minimizes the spike. Yeah, it minimizes the spike in insulin. Anyone that studies biology understands that when you have carbs, it spikes your insulin. Insulin is a storage hormone. And whether the insulin is used to store muscle or fat is dependent on whether your muscles have just been broken down or not. So that's why I always advocate that people have most of their carbs surrounding their workout, right? So right before and right after. And then on your off days, avoid having carbs too much. Focus on like lean meats, high fat stuff, just the basics, it's the basics that work.
That is good information. So just to make sure I'm understanding you correctly, and for the audience out there, so on days where you're lifting heavy, squats, deadlifts, bench press, overhead press, et cetera, that's when you want to load up on the carbs. But on days when you're focusing on core work, cardiovascular, aerobic exercises, that's when you want to cut back on the carbs.
100%.
That is excellent information. I've heard that before, but I've never heard or seen an actual living, breathing human being say that. You can read a lot of stuff on the internet and get a lot of good information, but until I hear it, until I get information straight from the horse's mouth, it never really resonates with me. Like people can say, oh, you do split routines or do this kind of exercise or work out on Nautilus machines or strong lifts 5x5. But unless I can see that you've been under a bar, it doesn't really mean anything to me unless I can see that you're sort of living proof. Now, one of the testosterone is obviously, that is the building blocks of manhood. And a lot of men out here, Jon, are completely clueless about some of the products that we buy out here on a daily basis that literally drain a man's testosterone. Now, you wrote an article back in August, I think, on Return of Kings entitled 4 Common Items That Are Destroying Your Testosterone Levels. How does something like this happen? Okay, number one. And number two, what are other products out there that we need to watch out for in terms of testosterone sapping products?
Well, so I'd say how it happens is, there's a few theories, man. I don't know if it's, I think part of it might be orchestrated. There's this theory where you're probably familiar with it, where there's these bioengineers that are orchestrating things, the elites, that are trying to lower testosterone levels so that the population is easier to control. But I think that some of it is just also that things that make food really sweet and tasty, and things that make food cheaper and easier to preserve, tend to have pseudoestrogens in them. So, by the way, too, it's not about estrogen and testosterone. It's also about fluoride in the water, for example. Harvard did a study, and they found that children who were raised in highly fluoridated areas had an average IQ of 15. It's huge, because 100 is average and 75 is considered mental. Number just from fluoride in water. There's chlorine in the water, heavy metals. There's so much bullshit in our water and our food that I think that most men should really dedicate some time to focus on. Get a Berkey filter, or Berkey or Alexa Pure. I actually have an Alexa Pure filter. I recommend that one because it's just easier to set up.
Okay.
It filters everything out. It's just great. Because there's like birth control and all this bullshit in the water we do not want. And even, it's small amounts, but
say that for me one more time, Jon. What are the filters that you recommend? Because I'll put the links to the Amazon links right here in the video along with your website.
Okay, cool. It's Alexa Pure, so ALEXA, and then just Pure.
Excellent.
I think you can get different sizes on Amazon for like between 100 and 350 bucks.
Okay.
I've got the big one because I drink a gallon of water every day, so I have to have a lot of water. There's everything out: fluoride, chlorine, all the birth control, all that bullshit. Highly recommend that. The second thing is, anything that you put on your skin or in your body, you're gonna want to check it, because again, guys, like, things out there that most people are unaware of that destroy your testosterone levels. First of all, it's plastic, for example, is bad for testosterone, right? So when you get carryout food and it's in like a plastic container, that's going to lower your testosterone. When you store food in plastic containers in your fridge, it's going to lower your testosterone. Plastic cups can lower your testosterone, right? So you want glass storage for everything, for food, shampoo, and all that other stuff. My general rule with those things is, right, so the closer that you can get to less ingredients, the better. Right, so there's some specific ingredients that you're gonna want to watch out for. Things like soy, and especially processed meat too. So the cattle
Bacon,
and poultry
sausage.
industry. Oh yeah, and just anything that that comes from an animal, to be honest, in this country that's not grass fed or pastured or organic. What they do is they've actually done studies where they give cows these little hormone tablets that they put on in their ears, estrogen by a huge amount. But the benefit is that they get fatter faster on less food, so it's more profitable for the farmers. But when you eat a cow that's been given that shit, you're ingesting basically pure estrogen. Really watch what you put into your body.
Wow, guys, listen. This is this is rock solid information. Here's the thing, John. Listen. I've got plenty of subscribers. Guys, listen to me, etc., etc., etc. One thing that I've always been honest about is that I'm not an expert at anything. There are two things that I know really well. I know money and I know women, and I'm not even a financial expert. So I love having guys like you on who drop this kind of knowledge. And the funny thing is people, I guess they assume that I know about this stuff, but listen, I learned right here on the air along with everybody else. Now, I've heard about things like soy, but I had no idea about these estrogen tablets that they're putting into fucking cows and heifers. Yeah. And when we're eating a big juicy steak or drinking milk, we're basically getting bitch tits without even knowing it. I had no idea.
No, yeah, it's ridiculous, man. I mean, the more that you look into the food industry in the United States, the more you realize why we're going through a lot of the basically the whole mainstream feministy, like super regressive left type stuff, is because all our food is basically, it's making us more complacent. It's making men weaker and scrawnier. It's giving
less aggressive, less drive, less.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, another one that not a lot of people know is salmon in this country. So what people will do is they'll buy salmon from farms, right? And it looks like normal salmon, but what happens is it's cheaper to farm it, right, than to catch wild salmon. So is they'll give these salmon all these, like, they live in these god awful cramped in where there's like 500 salmon in like a fucking container that really should only be holding like which is actually so undernourished and so toxic that it's not pink. They'll actually dye it pink before they sell it to you, so that in the grocery store it looks like normal salmon.
What?
It's disgusting. Like there's so much bullshit in our food, man. If you guys can, like, okay, shop at the farmer's market, get a high quality filter, get the Alexa Pure filter, the comment section or in the description. Just watch what you eat, man. Just watch what you eat. Seriously.
Good shit, man. Listen, this is great information. I remember seeing, I don't even remember where I saw it, but I saw, I think my girl had it on TV or something where they showed like a fish farm, like basically where they grow fish. And like the water, there were so many fish in the water, they barely had room to move around. They're just kind of flopping around each other. And I think to myself, how can that be good for anybody?
No, absolutely. And so basically, if you think about it like this, right, everything that you eat, you're getting, what you are, what you eat, right? So when fish are in an environment like that, for example, they're stressed out because they're fucking cramped for their entire life, right?
Right.
You get that when you eat that. And so that explains why people have, what is it, like a fucking antidepressants and fucking like all these men are, it's like all this mental health shit that's going on in our culture. It's a lot of it's from our food.
Jesus. Good Lord, man. Who would have thought? Dude, no, listen, no wonder men are acting like bitches. Let me ask you, let me transition into this. I actually just thought of this. One such way to obviously getting the Alexa filter, as I watch my Echo Dot light up one more time, getting that glass storage, watching out for soy, processed meat, etc., eating only grass-fed and organic. One such way to sort of combat the estrogenic culture that we now live in is testosterone replacement therapy. Now, I'm 40 years old, and I've been on TRT now for going on 3 years. Now, you don't have to give away your age, but you look like a young guy. But if you were my age, what is your stance on testosterone replacement therapy? Would you recommend it or would you not?
Well, it's actually getting to the point where people that are, so I think, they've done statistics on this, right, in studies where they actually find that the average grandfather during World War II had higher testosterone than the average, like, 18-year-old male right now.
Wow.
Right, so our test levels have been going down generation for generation. I mean, I've been on steroids before. This is the first time that I've ever revealed this to anyone just directly, but I want to be open and honest with everyone. And
sure. And listen, for the record, steroids is not the boogeyman that everyone would have you believe. So you're not getting. I mean, you're not getting any judgment from me, man. You're good.
Yeah, absolutely not. But I've never been on TRT, but from being on steroids, I can tell the difference. I mean, it's incredible. Guy, and you're approaching 30 to 40, that kind of age. I would seriously go to a hormone replacement clinic and get your testosterone levels checked. I think that the normal range, which is this is kind of ridiculous, but the normal range is 300 to 1,000 nanograms per deciliter.
Deciliter, yeah,
which is a huge range, because I mean, that's ridiculous. That's that's like saying a blood pressure normal range is from 100 to 400. It's like
right.
That's like so what really a good range for testosterone is like 800 to like 1,000. That's ideal. And have low testosterone. It's changing the averages, and they call it normal now because it's really just really fucking low. But yeah, if you're over 30, if you're approaching that age, seriously get your test checked. I mean, I'm in my early mid-20s, and I get my testosterone checks every year. It's just something that every man can handle, because when you have higher testosterone levels, you have more ambition, you have better sex life, better dating life, better
everything is better, man.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, testosterone replacement therapy is quite literally the fountain of youth. And now that more and more men are becoming, including myself, more and more men are becoming aware of the fact that, our water, our plastic containers, the meat that we eat, the foods that we eat are further estrogenizing us. So one such way to sort of combat these things is to go on testosterone replacement therapy to sort of negate the estrogenic properties of anything and everything around us. Gentlemen, you are listening to TSR Live with special guest Jon Anthony. He can be followed on Twitter at MasculineJon. That's Jon, not JOHN. Be sure to bookmark his website, masculinedevelopment.com. There you'll find a shitload of great information on how to live the red pill life. Guys, he talks about Bitcoin, starting and running your own business, how to talk to girls, how to get over your anger towards women after finding the red pill. You name it, he has covered it. So if you're looking for a great source in terms of red pill conditioning and living a good life as a man, go to masculinedevelopment.com. That is definitely a website that you need to bookmark. If you have questions for one or both of us, put it in the chat and we'll answer them in the order we get them, or at least we will try. And Jeopardy Clark has our first question. Says, hey guys, how would I know if I have a low testosterone count? I'll let you go with that one first, Jon. Jeopardy Clark asks, how would you know if you have a low testosterone count? I would assume before going to the doctor.
I can't see comment section.
It's Jeopardy. Yeah, it's Jeopardy Clark. He just wants to know how he can tell that he has a low testosterone count. I'll go ahead and answer the question first. If you don't have a high sex drive, if you don't have as much energy, I mean, if you don't look, sound, and talk and act like a man, chances are your testosterone level is below 300. And if your testosterone level is below 300, you may as well be a fucking woman at that point. So yeah, just like Jamaican Pepper says, go to your doctor. And if you are anywhere below 300 nanograms per deciliter, then you definitely need to stick a needle in your butt to be sure.
Yeah, and that's actually really that's a really funny way of putting it too. If you a man, walk like a man, act like a man, you probably have low T. I mean, it's all just basically that. You don't have a sex drive. And if you don't have a sex drive too, try no fap. Try no fap as well.
Yes, do not jerk off, guys.
Yeah, that's horrible for you. It fucks your dopamine levels up in your brain. It fucks a whole bunch of different neurotransmitters up and hormones up. But for low T, man, if you're asking, you probably do, to be honest, because if you're wondering if you have low T, you're probably noticing.
Probably do. Yep. I would also add
focus on things low ambition. Not enough strength. You just can't recover very quickly. No energy. Just those are some general signs. But I get it tested by a doctor for sure.
Good, very good, good answer. And just to piggyback off of your no fap, the no jerking off thing, I think what a lot of men and listen, I used to struggle with jerking off as well back when I didn't get any pussy. I mean, I had to fucking get my rocks off somehow, but when you stop masturbating, everything in your life changes. And I mean, I did an episode, I think it's episode 88 or something like that. Stop jerking off will change your life. That's one of the highest rated videos I have on YouTube. But what a lot of men fail to realize is that the act of jerking off is different from sex. Even though the outcome is the same, ejaculation, you blow your load into a napkin or whatever it is that you have, the act of jerking off is different from having sex in that it stimulates different parts of your mind. It is watching someone else having sex with someone else and getting off on that is a different act altogether than actually having sex with a woman. And so when you train your brain to only get off by watching someone else fuck a woman, when you actually get the chance to fuck a woman, that's why you have erectile dysfunction. Guys are saying, oh my God, I'm only 28 years old. Why does my dick not work when I try to fuck my girlfriend, Lisa? Well, it's because you jerk off too much. So yes, definitely try it. Listen, if you stop jerking off, your testosterone levels immediately spike. You had testosterone replacement therapy, you'll be a fucking approach machine. You'll be fucking everything that moves. Let's switch gears here and talk about hand-to-hand combat here, John. Back in the spring of 2016, you wrote one of the most thorough, comprehensive pieces on the start and the rise of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I must have watched the video at least 5 times. I remember watching the video that you put in the column, and it was fascinating to see how Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu rose to prominence in the U.S. as a result. And listen, for my money, even before I read your article, for my money, one of the most important fights in world history was the semifinals of UFC 1, which was Royce Gracie versus Ken Shamrock. That match was in the semifinals, but Shamrock was so much bigger and stronger than Gracie. But Royce made submitting Shamrock look easy, got him with the rear naked chokehold. That to me was one of the most pivotal and important fights in world history. Do you think that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the one martial art that most men should learn, or do you think that there are others in its class?
But Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is the best, right? So I always recommend Punch, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai.
Okay.
Sometimes paired together in different fighting gyms, but the reason why you basically have a bunch of things like arm bars, chokeholds, things like that. But it's all mostly on the ground. There's striking as well, your kicks and your knees. And Muay Thai, in my opinion, is the most direct and the sort of most effective way to really, really learn on a deeper level.
Yeah, I've been in some of these martial arts. Okay, there we go. Sorry. No, you're good. You're good. The Nightman said that fight was classic. He says, I like judo though. Yeah, I've been in plenty of fights in my lifetime. Not so much recently because I'm an old man and I don't like getting hit in the face. I've been in so many fights. I'm so fortunate to have all of my chompers. I'm fortunate that my face isn't broken. But when it comes to fighting, I think it's very important to, and I'll put it to you like this: the physical benefits of learning to fight are obvious, but why do you think it is mentally important for a man to learn how to fight? Not to go and seek out fights like my dumbass used to do back in my 20s and 30s, but why is it important? Yeah, I used to be an idiot. I still am from time to time, but listen, that's why God created anger management and therapists, right? But why do you think it's mentally important for a man to learn how to fight in this day and age, even though it's not as necessary as it once was?
Because it puts things in perspective. We have a lot of guys that, earlier today, being outside on the bench, watching people do the pre-workout, noticed how these guys that are just walking around and getting pissed off at this trivial bullshit, that are just kind of like, they're not in this reality, so to speak, that we're in. When you fight someone, it immediately forces you to put all the bullshit into the back of your mind. Focus on what's going on in the fight. You lose. You basically get fucked up. So it trains you how to focus effectively. It gives you discipline. It puts everything in perspective, right? So when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I found that things that used to piss me off, if my computer broke down or something, things like that used to piss me off, wouldn't really affect me that much anymore, right? Because there's just something about constant physical confrontation with other men, where you're not trying to hurt each other, but you're trying to win. Where it kind of like makes you realize how trivial everything else activates, this sort of primal, tribal part of our brains, our bodies, activated anymore. And I think it's important to activate it. You know, way of putting it would be we used to have a coming of age ritual where we would have to do something.
Yes.
Something very physical and mentally taxing. And I think that there's something magic about combining things that are mentally taxing and physically taxing together. Arts hits both, right? Because it's obviously very physically taxing, but it's mentally taxing too. I mean, you have to learn how to get over your ego. It's phenomenal for developing a healthy ego. There's just so many benefits. Martial arts, and particularly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because it's really easy for grandmasters, people, because they don't ever really fight. But in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, if it's done properly, you'll be fighting the other students every single class, right? And so there's no, grandmaster that you just have to take it for his word. And then, like you see these videos on YouTube where these grandmasters get into a fight at a fucking, event or something, and they think they're going to win, but they just get fucking wrecked because they've never gotten in a fight in their entire lives. And that's an example of having a ridiculously sort of ego that's out of touch with reality. I think that if you can bring your ego down to reality, that has a phenomenal number of benefits in every area of your life. There's a ton. There's a ton. I could.
We might have to do a show on that because I think a lot of guys out there don't know how to fight, man. For what and it's not that today's world is so comfortable. At least in the United States, living in the US, we are so divorced from physical confrontation. Like, if anybody gets loud, everybody wants to call the cops. Like, if you shove it, and listen, I've had the cops called on me before. If you shove a guy, if you look at someone funny, if they're a coward, his girlfriend's going to pick up the phone, or his boys are going to jump on you. I think it's very important for men to learn how to fight for those reasons. You also said something that was very important. You said, listen, all of the other bullshit goes right to the back of your mind. Because, John, at the end of the day, first world problems are first world problems. I may get pissed off that my phone doesn't get Wi-Fi. I might get pissed off that I don't know, that the grocery store doesn't have my favorite steak. But you don't really have problems until you are in a physical altercation that could literally mean life and death. I mean, I mean, unless if you're a man and you have not been in a fight where both of you are trying to kill each other, you don't really know what it's like to endure physical and mental strife, strain, altercation. It's hard to describe, and I think you know what I'm talking about. You don't really know what it's like to be alive and be present until you're in a physical altercation with another man who could conceivably end your life, and you can conceivably end yours. It really brings out, just like you said, a lot of your primal instincts. And when all of those are in the forefront, dude, you're not worried about your computer. You're not worried about your overpriced lattes. You're worried about the task at hand, which is getting out of this thing alive. I totally agree with you there. Well, let's take another turn here and talk Donald Trump. You've written numerous articles about Trump, his detractors, fake news, and so forth. But the one that sticks out to me was the one that went up a couple days after the election to basically rub salt in the wounds of these Hillary supporters and their shaking tweets or whatever.
Yeah,
listen,
literally shaking.
I loved it. Listen, man, Trump pulled off one of the greatest, if not the greatest, upset in political history. And listen, I'll admit to you that even I was shocked when he won the election. As the returns were coming out, I was like, holy shit, he's actually going to fucking pull this off. So my question to you here is, why do you think that Hillary supporters were in such disbelief, and why all the melodramatics?
There's a complicated answer and there's a simple answer. And the simple answer is that the left has basically become a cult. Get all of their news from the exact same places. It's literally has all the definitions of cult, right? So I think there's some psychologists put together characteristics that cults typically have, right? And so one of them would be like, if you look at these really far leftists, they ostracize anyone that's even remotely conservative. They only hang around people that go by Z, Zim, Zer pronouns. They only get their news from fucking BuzzFeed and Huffington Post. They literally live in this little bubble. They never have to face reality. so shocked is because the left is becoming more and more like a cult, where they're so delusional that they're not even aware of, half basically in the United States. And Jordan B. Peterson talks about this. He puts it very eloquently, far better than I ever could. I think that every man in the manosphere should know about this guy. His name's Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
Okay.
At the University of Toronto. Hundreds of hours on YouTube channel. He basically dissects the leftist psychology and how they're basically literally clinically insane, a lot of these people. What it comes, again, they literally live in this cult where, like we were talking about before, they've never encountered physical violence. They never had to fight anyone. So, when they see Trump tweet something, they're like, oh my God, that's the most violence of and fucking fight or flight mode, And meanwhile, dudes that are like masculine dudes that have actually been in a fight and lift weights and have encountered things that are worse than a tweet, they just see that and they're like, oh, nice, he speaks his mind. I like it.
Like, these bitches don't even know. They're like, I'm literally crying and shaking. Like, bitch, like, seriously, like, have you ever been on the ground underneath a man who outweighs you by 50 pounds, who's trying to crush your face with his elbow? Like, get out of here with that.
It's ridiculous.
Unbelievable, man. Listen, I had a blast. And the funny thing is I love it when there are a lot of disingenuous tweets. My 3-year-old asked me if we're going to have to leave the country. Hashtag, oh, bitch, please. Your 3-year-old. Dude, your 3-year-old doesn't know the difference between Donald Trump and Donald Duck. Like, come on, man. Now, I'm of the mind, John, that President X, whoever he may be, doesn't ever really affect my life directly. My lifestyle and my finances were exactly the same through the Bush administration, the Obama administration, and they haven't changed since Donald Trump took office. Do you believe that a president really changes things on a micro level? Do you think they really change people's lives, like Jon Anthony and Donovan Sharp?
Not really. I mean, people have been freaking out about what Donald Trump's doing. Like, how is he really going to affect our lives? The only thing I can really think of is taxes, but there is something that's important, though, that I think the president does. He legislates policy. Our culture on a basically affects the culture and the direction that we're going in. For example, he's having a huge effect on, feminism and, the whole war against masculinity, fake news. So I think that the main way that Donald Trump is affecting our lives is by making it okay for men to make fucking
right.
By making it okay for men to fucking it's actually so it's not so much that affecting our lives, it's that they become fed up with this bullshit. Is all of it. So Andrew Breitbart had this great quote that goes is that Donald Trump is just gotten fed up with this bullshit, and we want a man like that. That's what we want. I think that the president has far more impacts on our lives than anything.
Okay. Good stuff. Well, John, we have reached the 30-minute mark, and I usually try to keep these things to about 30 minutes, so that's where we're going to leave it. I definitely appreciate you coming on with me today. Guys, definitely, you need to bookmark this guy's homepage, masculinedevelopment.com. It's just like it's spelled. He can be followed on Twitter at Masculine John. That is Jon, not John. On his website, you'll find a shitload of information, guys. He talks about girls, game, fitness, finances. Definitely need to bookmark his website to be sure. He's given us a lot of great information about glass containers, all of the estrogenic products and everything like that. Be sure to go to Return of Kings and check out his column. You've written quite a few articles for Return of Kings, but yeah, masculinedevelopment.com. Check out his feed on Return of Kings as well as Twitter. Jon, thank you very much for coming on with me, and we should do this again soon, my friend.
Absolutely, man. I'd love to. It was great being on.
That's going to do it for TSR Live, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.